I would love to go back in time to see what Whatcom was like 50 years ago, because it seems as if you had a group of very dedicated, kind of out-of-the-box thinkers.
One of the things that I don't think people know was how extraordinarily innovative it was. It was the first community college without walls in the country.
The faculty tried to design anything that would support student success.
My job description was very short: never say no to students. So the way that it grew was people just having ideas.
The college started in '67, and we didn't have any classes actually until, I believe, 1970, and one of the first classes was a program in farm management.
I already knew Floyd Sandell, and that was our first faculty and first class.
There was a single-wide trailer on the property of Ferndale High School.
And we had a mailbox out in front of the trailer, and that was Whatcom Community College. Sort of branched out into a number of other venues around the county. We had liquor stores, an abandoned grocery store on Marine Drive.
We had our first building in Ferndale, and it was kind of curious that the state liquor store was on one side of it, and when we leased the building, we found that bats had gotten into the attic, and we hauled out about 20 wheelbarrow loads of bat crap.
Whatcom was a non-traditional college, so we would have people wander into the math lab after having been absent for 5 years, saying that they wanted to take their next test. And so we'd look up their name in the file and pull out their name, see where they were, give them their test.
When Bill Laidlaw became president, it became a more formal institution, which it needed to be. It went from the Wild West, where you could wear whatever you wanted and pretty much do what you wanted, to a much more formal setting.
A number of us as trustees knew about how emphatic our former trustees, upon whose shoulders we were standing at the time, felt very, very, very profoundly and deeply that the college needed to be in the community, not in some sort of ivory tower.
The idea at the beginning was a good idea, but it was time for a campus.
And it was a very positive thing for the north part of Bellingham because there was so little that had already been developed here, and there was such a need for an anchor.
When I came, the college was just finishing its first year in the Laidlaw Center and had thought originally that's all they would need.
Literally, the first day we opened and I walked out into the hallway, I was in shock, as were many others, because there were students who were 18 to 21-year-olds, and we hadn't seen that before.
We went from being the oldest average age student when we were a college without walls to the youngest in the state.
The accessibility of having this campus here and the friendly, outward-going nature of the personnel that have been kind of the hallmark of all of our personnel at Whatcom Community College that I can never think of exists today as it did then.
I have seen over and over again students that have said, I would not have made it had it not been for your help, for this faculty member, for this club I was in.
I know this is going to sound strange, but you're allowed to fail, you're allowed to try, you're allowed to ask. It's a place where all of that is possible, and like, imagine the wonderful things you can do when that's accepted.
We want students to succeed, and a huge part of that is hearing them.
Student leaders were instrumental in development of the computer labs and the student center and the student recreation center.
I think our visibility within the community has increased, and it's not just about the place, it's not about the buildings.
Responding to community needs is what we are all about.
The Whatcom Community College stands as a beacon for a change, necessary change in people's lives.
And this is what I tell every student. It's not me that is contributing to your success. It's the fact that you believe in yourself.
Students who may otherwise not feel that they've had very good opportunities in life have those opportunities.
If you know what you want to study, we have wonderful academic planning to put you on a track to get to the university to the next level. If you don't know what you want to study, we have fantastic resources for you to figure out where your interests lie.
I saw the impact that the college has on students, and especially at times in their lives when that's so important.
There's a culture here that is known in the community that it's accessible and people will support their success here.
Every morning as I eagerly biked to work, I would ponder the question, how can I best serve my students today?
We never know what tomorrow is really going to be like, but a college that wants to address things as they change, to make sure that we're producing students that are ready to tackle the problems of today and tomorrow.
They're incredible people that we get to play a small role in helping them at kind of a formative stage in their life.
It changed the way I think, not just what I think, but how I think. I am Whatcom because I am progress, I am determination, I am growth. I am all those things because Whatcom walks that journey with me.